Chad Everett Brochures, and I am going over minding your own business today. I know it sounds like an inflammatory title. It actually does have more than the negative connotation that so many people use it for. Predominantly, you usually hear people say mind your own business as some sort of negative thing, as some sort of, it's go over there with it or whatever. But to look at it in a little bit more of a playful way, but yet start to analyze the cost benefit factors for it. I want to make something extremely clear about any and all of my videos. And it's about me as a person and about what growing up in the wilds of suburbia is all about. I don't live a life that doesn't have fun in it. I have all sorts of experiences. But if you listen from, I'm not doing that, therefore I have work to do, and every time I turn around with something that I hear from this show or from Chad is more work that I need to do, and work usually doesn't feel like fun until you've accomplished the goal, and then you can get that relief. And it's not always the case. Sometimes it's exhaustion and you sit back and you're just like, well, I'm glad I'm done with it. But with this is I have a lot of fun, but these are the things like I'm sharing on these videos and in these episodes. I'm sharing my life with you guys and gals. I'm sharing it with you because I don't want to sit back and be somebody that is jumping to conclusions based off of limited information, getting emotionally excited about something to jump to the next thing I'm getting emotionally excited about without actually having some sort of substance to it. It's one of those, the fool's errand is the one that never learns from their mistakes or learns from their past experiences. And with this is, I have got caught up in things that the media has put out or that people in my life have produced. As you watch these and or listen to these, you'll find that I'm not really a big fan of the media. I feel that a lot of the media has turned into a negative thing that has made you mind somebody else's business. And we continuously seem to find ourselves caught up in the next thing. 2 days later, you may start finding resolution to the issues, but immediately you've got another feed of some sort of emotionally charging thing that's got your attention again. And through the principles of neuroscience and neuroplasticity, mapping, there's different things inside of psychology that starts to teach you like how the mind works and the processes that we go through that help us understand things and that we use without necessarily forcing effort in order to have a thought process or a conclusion as soon as you hear something that's actually, I'm describing a little bit of what's called a heuristic as well, because that's where you have a conclusion once you hear or see something and you have a certain experience. It's something that you've built a pattern of thinking or a map on that gives you a conclusion without needing to think through it. They're preying on people in that sense because the more people that click on the links online or the more people that tune into the television show or the cable network or that post their stuff online and all the rest of that, the more clicks, the more money they make off their advertisers. That's not in their interest to give you the real truth. It's in their interest to give you enough of the truth they can't be sued necessarily, but enough to get you emotionally excited. We call that sensationalism. What I find is they're training you to mind somebody else's business. So here's something that happens when you mind somebody else's business. It's not just the media. People do this. Spinsters is what we usually call those people in the interactions and interpersonal relationships have been referred to as being spinsters. Things about spinsters. They love or they have a skill set that they get a degree of satisfaction off of practicing or using. And that is one that gets you emotionally excited or that can manipulate you into a specific result. So they spin things up. They are actually more in control of you than you are because they know what buttons to push or how to create an opportunity for you to behave in a way they can elicit a response that they can control or they get some sort of benefit of the outcome. a spinster on a personal level, they may get you to introduce them to somebody else that might be more of a target for them, or something that they would want to gain in some way, somehow, physical, emotional, financial, whatever that thing might be that they're looking for, to use you as a conduit to it. But as long as you're built and minding somebody else's business, every time you take on somebody else's business, you will get at a level of emotional involvement. You do not have an eternal wellspring of emotional energy. So what happens is they tap into an emotional bank of energy, and they start getting you to spend that bank account. And the more you deplete that bank account, you start to facilitate, instead of a negative or like it goes into the negative, you create frustration as a replacement energy in that space. If it's 90% of it still there, you have enough emotional energy, 10% of it is frustration. It's sometimes not that noticeable, but you may look at the subject that has you emotionally going, oh, there's something over there. I have interest in it. But the lower you get in that emotional energy, the more likely you are to become frustrated. The more likely you are, when you're frustrated, the more likely you are, I apologize on that. The more frustrated you are, the more likely you are to become angry, or another, like depressed, or the frustration gives access to the emotions that are more likely to cause you to action. How often do you see people give positive reviews versus negative reviews? You could have a client, if you're a personal or a person, like somebody who is in the service industry, or you own your own business and you deal with people in a service concept, whether it's an item, a widget, or just maybe you do a physical service for somebody, massage therapy, those kind of things. If you've ever worked in that, you'll find that it is unbelievably challenging to get a positive review. It takes a significant act to get somebody to give you a positive review. They could love you to death. Your family won't even do it typically. But all it takes is one infraction for the person not to be happy, or to be upset, or to think they can say they're upset in order to get their way. And now they've got, they're going to put information out. They'll share it. They'll enroll other people in how upset they are as best they can, because it gives them some sort of validation that they weren't able to get from you, or that they weren't able to get at another time in their life. So with that, minding your own business will give you more progress towards something as a goal in your life. Now, I'm not saying don't be world knowledgeable. I'm not saying don't understand the things that are going on in society. For me, a checkpoint that I use is every single time I start to feel emotionally invested in something that I'm hearing or seeing, I have to go through a checkpoint system in order to find out if I am becoming led or being led. Becoming misled is what I wanted to say, but I may be being led by somebody else that knows how to orchestrate a situation in a way that I will want to try to push it and attempt to make it viral. You share an article, you see a bunch of other people like or share it or comment on it or whatever, it seems to create some degree of validation for you, and you're trying to elicit change in whatever it is that you're doing, and it's really not for you. You get lower level satisfaction. They are the ones that get the financial benefit of it, or the market growth value of it, whatever it is, but they're still getting something out of it more than you are. And the whole time, the cost that you're paying for every minute that you're involved in somebody else's business, you cannot work on your own. Now, it doesn't mean you won't learn something from it and bring that back to your own business and do something with it. When I'm talking about your business, I'm really talking about your life. I don't mean necessarily brick and mortar concept business, although it can be that. I don't mean you work from home, your own business, to make sure I don't have those people feeling left out. But it does have all of those variables that when I talk about your business, I'm talking about your life. A lot of people, their business, if you're a small business owner or a business owner, there's a lot of those people that don't, like, their life is their business. Excuse me. Excuse me. A lot of this talking. So, mind your own business. Now, again, to reiterate, you can understand what's going on in the world. but understand what you can work with and what you can change, or what you need to develop in yourself. For me, whenever I find something that's frustrating to me or emotionally draining for me, I try to find something that's going to educate me beyond a news article or a 45-second video or whatever it is that was first put in front of me. Because a lot of times the news puts information out before there's enough to really understand the situation. They put out enough to make you react. People do that in your life too. It's there are things that people in the, it's really, they call it the dark triad, but I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not putting any kind of diagnoses out there, and I may have some degrees of inaccuracy with specific categories, so I do apologize for that. But what they call the dark triad is psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism. Those are the ones that they're individuals that aren't invested in you, they're invested in themselves. Predominantly, you can kind of shroud it all up with the concepts of what you understand about a narcissist. Overall, they're usually very self-motivated, but they do need to have something from you in order to feel like they're progressing in some way. But when those things happen, those individuals are doing those things to mislead you so that they can get something out of it. I am absolutely no fan of being caught up in somebody else's business in a way that I cannot grow my own life. I have no interest in rioting. I have no interest, protesting is one thing, and I have had some degrees of involvement in protesting in the past. Nothing major, just that somebody was saying something and going about and tormenting other people based off an ideology that person's ideology and mine did not coexist in a way that she was very aggressive about putting her information out there, and I was like, this is beyond unnecessary. You're not only not reaching people, you're producing things that can damage young minds, which is what she was. There was a bunch of children around at the same time as well, and I tried to level it out as best that I could so that we could have something a little bit more understanding as far as a discourse. But that's almost my extent in protesting. I will not take any emotional piece to take it to the next level. I will take that emotions and redirect them into something else. If I'm frustrated from an interpersonal relationship with somebody in my life, I will find out everything I can to try to understand their situation, but also within the limits of my own resources. If I've got a lot more concerns and I'm spending it because, spending my energy on my business, the company that I may work for, or something else in my life. I'm a homeowner, so there's another variable. I've got more responsibilities than just paying rent. So I may have my energies spread out in a portfolio of living that requires that I don't neglect anything so that I can uphold a standard of living that I like to live by. Now, that standard of living is not necessarily just a financial concept. It's, making my bed is a standard of living that I have. Making sure that I am as understood as I can be based off of the relationship that I'm speaking to is another standard that I live by. This does not downplay anybody else in my life that doesn't get a deeper conversation. It's just, it is what it is, and I try to keep that as clear as possible as best as I can. But again, I'm minding my own business in it. If I get frustrated to the point somebody else is enrolling me into their business, I'll try to create a solution as quick and as possible as I can. And then from there, I'll try to have a conversation that enrolls them into that as a solution so that it's the same idea of, as I mentioned in a previous video, I'm the guy that will pick up the trash in the bathroom. I also pick it up on the sidewalk. If I see it when I'm out running with my dog, I stop and I'll grab trash. My dog will not go to the bathroom without me picking it up and putting it where it belongs. I don't want other people to have to deal with my trash, if you will. So I'm that guy. So I also treat my relationships in a way that it has a continuation of existence that is not at their cost, not at my cost, and it continues to have some sort of substance. Because I'm not a big fan of transactional relationships outside of things that belong, like going to the gas station to get gas is a transactional relationship if I go inside and speak to the tenant. It's because it's understood before it gets there, and it's really not anything to be deep. Doesn't mean that I don't care. It doesn't mean I won't ask them how their day is in sincerity. But I'm still there minding my own business because I treat that relationship as its placement to be treated. Oh, they're a human being. I have a very small amount of time, and I'm there because it's a transaction opportunity. I need to purchase gas or whatever it is from the gas station. They're there working. They're obligated by the job's requirements to do what they do, and we can have a peaceful interaction or a desirable interaction, and have that person feel validated. They exist. I care. They exist. If they weren't there, who would I be dealing with? It's get rid of the entirety of it. I'd be dealing with a kiosk, and quite honestly, I prefer to have real people interacting with me. I'm not a fan of automated things. So therefore, I treat people in my life as I honor that they're in my life. I'm not saying walk around like a yogi. I'm not doing that. I'm not walking around bowing to everybody or anything. I nod, I smile, I make eye contact. I care, but I'm also minding my own business. And I'm minding my own business by being responsible for who I am with these people. So with that, they get a real experience of me because I'm being genuine with them. If I'm not having a good day, I'll just say I'm not having the best day. I'm not going to try to drag their day down by telling them how bad my day is, but if they ask, I may share some things, but it also would come with a disclaimer because I want to be responsible. I don't want them to start minding my business more than their own, but I like the interactions. So, minding your own business. Every time you spend more time on somebody else's business, you will not be able to build your own. And your business is your life. You're not going to be able to read a book about something that's going to help you get where you want to go if you're spending that time reading magazines about things that are not applicable to you. Or if you're spending the time reading stuff on your social medias that are not applicable to you. I'm not saying don't visit those sites. I'm not saying don't read those things. But know that when you're reading that, you cannot read something else. So a benefit of it is to understand, give yourself an allowance. I do have an allowance. I do read the paper. I do pay attention to the news, although I don't get enrolled in it. I just pay attention to it. And I listen to different channels. I listen to conservative channels, and I listen to liberal channels. And I watch, and I really don't really watch. I listen a lot of times, but I try not to spend too much time in one category. I would like to know, but unfortunately we kind of have to draw truth out of what they're saying because they're not really reporting, they're narrating something. And there's a difference between reporting and narrating. Is narrating will typically have a slanted view, and reporting should be just what happened, the truth about it, or just the absolute most accurate truth they can produce, not it's my idea. So, I know it sounds like I'm kind of griping on media quite a bit, but I do have a pretty decent disdain against it because it does seem that it's become more entertainment than it has become something of knowledge, something beneficial for individuals to pay attention to, and it draws them in a lot like the 90s Jerry Springer, for anybody that's familiar with that, or Maury Povich, more modern day, how he switched over to the maternity test stuff. How you just get people that are acting out and then they get rewarded for acting out. We say, I don't want somebody to do bad things in my life to me, but we're rewarding people that are doing things that are what you wouldn't want done to you, but you're rewarding it by sharing their activities or liking the stuff that they're doing, or just putting it out and making it more viral. That's a celebrity concept, and a lot of times that's something that these people are looking for acting out. World Star is one of those things that does have people do that. And it's like some people are just going to go above and beyond their normal interactions to try to make it more sensational. And then the person they're doing it with is at fault. Or not at fault. They're the ones paying the cost. And so do you, though, because you're tuning in and you're spending that time doing that versus working on you. Now, again, I'm not saying don't have the fun in your life. Just understand for every single day, every single minute, you spend time focusing on somebody else's business, you're taking away from your own. So at the end of the day, if your bills are getting to, you're running out of month to your paycheck, you really would like more days in the, more days of the paycheck and less, having more money is what I'm trying to say here. You'd rather have more money at the end of the pay period so that when your next money goes in, you have it in your account. You need to create that in your life. If you're waiting for the lottery, just check the United States population and look at how many times people win the lottery. And who is the winning number, and how many people since it's been enacted have won the lottery. And how long has it taken for all of those individuals to win per state? Because you're likely going to play the state or the mega ball or whatever the heck is out there. I don't really play because I don't want to win money. I want to earn it. Because if I earn it and I lose it, I can earn it again. But if I win it and I lose it, I may spend the rest of my life miserable that I had money and I blew it over whatever reasons. And now I don't have it anymore, and I probably have a bit more debt than I did before I won, which is actually the common thing for lottery winners. If you want to find something interesting, look up the stats in the statistics over people that win the lottery. It is pretty interesting. But anyway, I can do that in another video. Mind your own business is what I'm saying. Again, last time I'll say this, and then we'll go ahead and close this up. Actually, there's one thing that I do want to talk about also whenever it comes to minding your own business and then enrolling other people. I'm not saying don't have fun. Okay, I lost my thought there because I did remember something I did want to touch on that I spoke with a friend earlier. Okay, minding your own business. Be careful who you're enrolling in your business as well. An example of this would be you have a relationship, things are good, people know that you're in that relationship or whatever. The earlier stages is typically like that. People start finding out you have somebody in your life, and they're like, oh, tell me about them, and you start telling them about them. There's nothing wrong with that. Now comes some disagreement. You have a fight, whatever the disagreement is. If you did not find amends to what your argument or disagreement was with your partner, which is your business because that person's involved in your life now and they're part of your business, to whatever degree they are, they're still part of it. You tell your friend, because you did not reach a resolution where you completely felt satisfied, you bring that information to your friend. You share that with them. You're enrolling them in whatever upset you had. Now, with that, thanks Athena for saying hi. Now with that person, I'm not saying talk right now, sweetheart, shut up. Oh, now she's back there smiling. Okay, now you've enrolled the person in your life, the friend, about what happened. They have some degree of emotional investment. It could simply be that when you guys get on the phone, you like each other enough, you like to talk, you have some similar mindsets, whatever it is. You talk. That person is saying to you, this is, or they start giving advice. You put it out there, whatever your upsets are. They bring on advice. Now, how often are you fully aware whether or not the advice that person is offering you is something they thought of in hindsight to a previous argument they had with somebody? They have a beef that is unresolved, but they have a way that they feel they would have won the argument versus coming to a better understanding in the situation so that the argument may not come up again because there's been a resolution to a challenge. A lot of people will play the game of, I would have said this, and if it happens again, I will. They're speaking theoretically. They're not speaking in fact. They're using an opinion over what they would have done to themselves had they actually thought of it at the time. But they want you to practice it, and their investment is they want to understand how successful you were with it by their advice. They want to know the success rate. And if they don't get what they want out of it, there's a good chance they're going to try to stoke the upset to get the argument to happen again so that they can see how they can critique it in a way that gives them the result they're looking for so they feel vindicated from the relationship they didn't get settled in. But what they're doing is they're playing a game of chess with your life because they're offering you advice based off of your rapport with them, the belief that you feel that they have actually done that, and or you agree that it's a good idea, but it's not tried, it's not true, it's not even really, it's not tested. It's all been talked about in a theoretical way. It's all been spoken about as a hypothesis, but you don't know that. You may not have any idea that that is not the way that it went. Because the person doesn't want to look like they were weak or a victim or something like that. A lot of people have this empowerment thing where they don't want to be honest about something. And they would rather just say, nope, I was the winner of that. Or I came out ahead. that's the kind of thing that can become detrimental to you, because they're puppeteering your conversation. They don't have the same investments that you do. They have a different set of investments. Be careful with who you enroll in your life, because if they start giving you advice but they've never tried it, the skin in the game they have is going to be buffered by you, because you're the one that pays the real consequences. Same thing. Somebody tries to poke their nose in your, like, let's say a real tangible business, or a real business. And what I mean by a real business, like something that you're doing for commerce, an exchange of services or goods. And then they're like, you know what, you should try this. And they've never done it themselves, but they're wanting you to put your money, your resources into their idea. You're taking on the risk. They're throwing out the idea. If it fails, it's all on you. And if you exceed, they may have an expectation of some degree of return beyond just, thank you for the advice. So be cautious who you bring in to give advice. I'm not saying don't ask people for advice. By all means, please ask people in your life for advice. It helps us feel like we're all connected to a degree, right? Like the connection levels inside of groups and things like that. But the better thing to do is just understand. When somebody starts offering you advice, there's a possibility they never went through it. Just ask them. And you know whether or not your friend, to however much you do know, you'll have a better idea than I will if you know them to be honest or not. Or if they might have an ulterior motive. They may have an ulterior motive. They may be like, you know what? I don't want you to be with that person anymore because I've been single all this time. And I like it more whenever you're single because we go to the bars, clubs, or whatever it is. Or your partner restricts you from hanging out with me, or whatever that thing is that they see. Doesn't even have to be true. It just has to be perceived by them. And they may purposely sabotage you, or unintentionally sabotage you, would be the advice without actual knowledge of success or the hypothetical behaviors they say they've done. So mind your own business and be careful of who you enroll in minding your business. If they're not spending more time in minding their own business, it may not be a good person to talk to. If they haven't shown success in their life in that area, it may just be somebody like, hey, I just want to vent. But just be aware, when you vent, you also run a very high risk of enrolling the person. Let's say you go, a week without speaking to the person, you talk to them again, you've satisfied all the issues that you had with your partner, and then your friend says to you, you guys made up? Tell me what happened. How'd that happen? How'd that work? And then as you tell them, they start looking for areas that might infuriate you or to upset you enough to get the argument going again. Now, I'm not saying this is absolute. Look for it. If they start saying things like, did that really, like, you're okay with that? Or, I can't believe you let it go that easy. Or whatever, like the variations of that conversation, of that statement, that very well can be them trying to provoke you back into an argument because that gives them a place where they feel like they hold authority or that you guys have enough commonality and it feels good to have that commonality. And they don't realize the cost is they just enrolled you into a fight that wasn't necessary. You already created the men's for it. You go back, pick a fight with your partner, and before you know it, those fights keep going with these cycles, and then your partner gets tired of it. This person you really do care for a great deal or love, and they can't continue to be in these arguments that feel abusive. And the other person's just on the outside going, they weren't right for you anyway. Or whatever other variation they're going to come up with. All right, that's it for this video. I'm going to go ahead and close it here. Thank you again so much for watching this. I do appreciate any feedback that I get. Leave comments in the comment section. By all means, please, put a like the channel, subscribe to it, hit the bell notification. I'll let you know whenever I do go live. You can jump into the chats here and all of that. Do share this video with people in your life that you feel that would actually benefit from watching it. As the days go on, I make a very conscious effort to continue to get better at this because I want to see something better and different for all of us in a way that we can all come together. I don't care about skin tone. I don't care about gender. I don't care about sexual preferences. It's all your business. It is. It's not my business. My business is I want to see us all mature in a way that we stop this division that we seem to be finding ourselves in. and that we take this route. It's a path of peace most of the time. Sometimes it's inner conflict, or even conflict with other people that we need to separate relationships from or change the relationship in a way. But overall, though, I appreciate all of you. I appreciate all the time that you give to this. Again, share it, comment on it, like it, check out the podcast, not just the videos. Other than that, thank you so much. We are all in this together. Till next time, let's continue to think critically. Let's continue to look back at ourselves, understand your foundation. And for this episode, above all else, mind your own business. All right. Thank you so much. Again, this is Chad Everett Brochures. I am the host of Grow